Artlist.io.
Rainbow Dreamcatcher, the Love Podcast. I'm your host, Nilla, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist and relationship coach. I travel the world helping people to learn the skills they need to have a happy and healthy relationship.
And I'm her loving husband and co-host, Big Sexy, here to provide brevity.
So today we've got a really interesting topic. We are going to be talking about astrology. Now, I know that when I say that, and we'll get into this a little bit later too, people have all kinds of definitions of astrology. For most of us, that means we're picking up our newspaper and we're looking at our star signs, which is what? I'm a Pisces.
I'm a Virgo.
You're a Virgo.
The best sign.
And as I was looking into this topic, I found some really interesting statistics about astrology. The first thing is that when we look at astrology, and guys, this is going to be from an American perspective, about 29% of Americans really believe in astrology. And by believe in, it means that they have an understanding that the astrological chart that they are born under and that they live under have an effect and an impact on their lives.
The number for many people, as pay attention to their sun signs, and the fact that the pickup line, hey, what's your sign, is so prevalent in society.
Yeah.
It's amazing that number is only 29%, which means that a lot of people who are using that pickup line don't really believe that.
Don't believe it at all.
No, not at least not wholeheartedly. They may think that it may have some influence, but they're not basing their entire life on it.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned dating, because that's often where we talk about these signs. And I did a little digging in terms of the signs and different stats. And if you want, I've got some fun facts for you.
I would love some fun facts.
So these are from USA Today, super reliable source.
All right.
So from USA Today, they did actually an aggregate study of all of the dating sites. That's Tinder, Bumble, Hinge. I'm sure Grindr's in there. They didn't really list them all. But in total, there were 42 million people that participated in this kind of aggregate, draw of data, right? It's a ton of people. And what they looked at are the different things or the different differences they could tell by sign. The first thing is that a lot of people list their astrological sign on their dating profile.
Right.
Of that 42 million, at least according to USA Today, about 78% of people list their sign on their dating profile. So even if only 29% believe it, 78% use it, which means it's got to have an effect in some way.
Right.
And then they had some interesting little stats. Would you happen to know the star sign, according to USA Today, right, that has the most sex?
The most sex.
The most sex.
I would think Leo, because they're like take charge, take control ideology. Scorpios are freaky though. So maybe Scorpio.
What are we choosing?
But Aquariuses are fluid.
We got to pick one. We didn't say guess all. We didn't say guess before the star signs. I would love to hear your guess about which one of the star signs.
I would say Scorpio.
Scorpio. You would be wrong, actually.
Really?
Yeah, Leo. You would have been right the first time. So,
Leo.
Apparently, Leo is the number one.
See, I guess Scorpio, y'all not as freaky as y'all pretend to be.
Well, let's continue down this vein. When we talk about freaky, what star sign would you think sends the most nudes?
Nudes. Trying to think of what are the freaky signs other than Scorpio.
He's just gonna talk himself out of it.
Yeah. Let's see. Not Pisces. Not Virgo.
You're just gonna name them all, no matter what I do.
I gotta go through them. Cancer. let's go random and let's say Sagittarius.
Oh, Sagittarius. Also wrong. Libras. I don't know
Libras.
why. Yeah, I have no idea.
The balance, I guess they balance in the world by showing them Ghibli parts.
Everybody wants to. I guess I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what Ghiblis. I wonder whose Ghiblis are being sent.
Right.
I'm gonna guess.
What's the level between male and female?
Well, I'm gonna guess just based on the fact that every woman I know gets dick pics in their DMs, whether they want to or not. That's
more Libra men are showing their
very
dick pics.
heavily male.
Right.
Yeah, for those people that consider themselves men, I think that's the Ghibli parts that are getting transmitted more often than not.
Well, yeah. I mean, of course, those are the Ghibli parts, but I mean, more Libra Ghiblis than Virgo Ghiblis.
Apparently, there are more Libra Ghiblis than any other star sign
All right.
getting transmitted. So Libras, what the heck is going on with you guys?
Or, man, live your best life, Libras. Go out there and send them nudes, consensual nudes.
Consensual nudes.
Don't
please.
just randomly send your nudes to people.
They didn't actually delineate whether they were consensual or not. Please if you're sending the Ghiblis, make sure people want to see them.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we don't want to see them, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I was gonna say we don't want to see boobs, but that's not accurate. It's not accurate at all.
Well, all right. So those are some of the numbers, guys. We're having a lot of fun, but we had this really wonderful experience here in Bucharest, where we had an opportunity to meet someone who has studied astrology. And I got to tell you, I think we both went in as skeptics.
Mm-hmm.
And after having the experience of talking to this person, we actually invited them to come onto the podcast because the insight that we found in our natal birth charts were really stunning. And I think for really both of us.
Yeah. If you happen to also be a listener to Big Sexy Digital Nomad, you heard me talk about this person and the star reading they did for me for my birthday. Mm-hmm. That was at the beginning of this month. Yeah. And so we have invited her here.
Yes. Now, the person we're going to introduce you to is Cris Andreica. And Cris has studied astrology. She's going to tell you a little bit more about her background and what she's done. Now, I want to give a couple of caveats before we get started. A lot of times people talk about compatibility. This is not about compatibility. This is about all things astrology. Cris is going to tell you in some detail because this is her expertise. But we are really excited. She's going to tell us a little bit more about the subject matter. And she's also going to tell us a little bit about what overlaps for me and Big in terms of our natal birth charts. So I am super excited.
And it's not just the sun sign, right? People get hung up on just the 12 zodiac that your newspaper gives you the horoscope for. It actually goes much deeper, which was really intriguing when she did our star charts. Very deep, and I can't wait to dig into it together.
So we'll give you all the details at the end of how you can contact Cris if you are interested in learning more about what astrology may be able to share with you and about your experiences. But without further ado, let's introduce Cris Andreica. Hey, Cris.
Hey.
Welcome to the Love Podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
So we had an opportunity to meet, I guess, just like a couple of months ago. And in talking, got the opportunity to learn something about your background and history with astrology. And
before we go there,
okay.
Before we go to the astrology part,
okay.
I love this story about how you came into our lives.
Yes.
So we're here in Romania, and y'all know we have a cute little fox with us. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to get Fox an appointment. And it just so happened that the Airbnb we were staying in at the time was right across the street from a veterinarian. Mm-hmm. So one fine morning, Nilla goes to the vet.
I do.
And takes Fox over. And it just so happens that Cris is a receptionist.
Yes.
There's a receptionist there. And they get to talking. And now she's a friend.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's an awesome
that happens. I love the way that happens.
Cris, tell us your story.
Okay. Yeah, it was also for me a very nice opportunity to meet you because, as I said also to Nilla, when we first met, that we Romanian, we have a lot to learn from you because of this vibe you share and this, unconventional way of living. So it's a lifestyle that we should learn from. we are very traditional and very I don't know. We have some fixed stuff,
Right.
and I don't know, this freedom and this independent energy. It's something that we should learn from you.
Well, I
Nice.
appreciate that so much.
Yes.
It was
We're happy
so
to
wonderful.
teach the independence, and we're grateful that you are a part of our lives now. And it. So that's how did you get into astrology?
Well, when I was very, very young, my first job that I wanted to have, it was an astronaut.
Mhm.
I didn't share this with you because I was talking with the stars. I was staying on the balcony and just look at the stars and talking with the moon. But at that time in Romania, there were not so many, let's say, not too much access to some, I don't know, books
Okay.
or stuff to study astrology.
Mhm.
It was something taboo or hidden, like any other topic,
Right.
relationship, sex, or other stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So I put it in a drawer, this dream, and it seems that when I have decided to get out of the corporate system because it became like a very hard experience for me.
Mhm.
I remember that I have some dream in my drawer,
Mhm.
and I wanted to take it out. And also, along with some personal experience in my life, that brought me to some, I don't know, question that beyond this experience, earthly experience,
Mhm.
there should be something beyond this.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, to
Absolutely
have
true.
Bigger.
like any people want to understand why this stuff happening or why to me, or I don't know. They need some meaning.
Mhm.
They need some
Mhm.
meaning above all this. So I remember that there is a principle which says that what's far above, it's also beyond, and
Right.
what is up, it's down, and so
So
on.
above as
So
is
above
below.
as the below.
Right.
And then I self-study this astrology, and of course, my first, let's say, contact was with this commercial stuff, which I started to seem that it's too much. I don't know. It's a frame very fixed and very predestinated, or something very. It's like, I don't know. Pisces is very emotional, or
Right.
Virgo, it's too much into details. And I said, we are too much complex to be put in a box.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So from there, I started to self-study first. Also in Romania, also in outside Romania, because now we have a lot of information.
Mhm.
I started to watch in Romania some groups, astrology with teachers, and I listen, I read a lot, and then I choose a teacher, which his approach was, I don't know, I resonated with him.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then I said, okay, like from 2017 to up to 2021, I think I was just reading and learning, and a lot of material.
Wow.
Wow.
And
That's a lot
then
of time.
and then I said I need some basic, some technical stuff, because there is also astronomy involved, and
Right.
and I
Learning
wanted
about
to,
space.
yeah, and it's also I had to put a base that I felt the need.
Mhm.
And then I started to have these classes, like just 1.5 year or something like that. And this is something that you never stop learning. I mean, it's
Right.
so fascinating that of course I took contact with so many astrology disciplines, because it's vocational astrology, it's I don't know, relationship stuff,
Right.
elective astrology, horary, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But because I'm a Gemini,
Throw
and
that in there.
yeah, we'll go there. I I wanted to learn how to take the most of the this multi vasting
Mhm.
abilities of Gemini, to focus on one or two direction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just say, one, I think it's really fascinating to hear that the path for you started with your passion, and that it started as a child, and that you were able to return back to that passion. And I really love that you not only just took that passion and ran with it, but really took the time to sit down and study and learn and seek out, different teachers. Um, I know that there was a particular area that you focus on, which I, as a therapist, was really fascinated by. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the area. Like you're saying, there's all these vast different ways you could look at astrology. What's the area that you chose to focus on?
Yeah, first it was the birth chart, the natal reading, because this is the, let's say, the starting point from my perspective. It's like you enter into like so many levels of your psychic when you read this chart. It's like an astral imprint, that it's a starting point journey, and in time there are layer and layers that you understand about yourself. So first I focus on this one because it was also a personal quest, let's say, to understand myself better and understand why did I have some specific recurrent experiences, and why am I choosing to, I don't know, have these behaviors or have this kind of mental or communication issues or whatever. What do I like this and not that, and so on.
Search the foundations,
Yes.
right.
So I wanted to understand myself because I see from this point astrology can be used as a tool to self-development.
Okay.
This is one point. Then lately in the last year I focus on this part of understanding your roots and understanding how the previous generation has an impact on your life, because some stuff we have to do ourselves,
Right.
but some are inherited, and we also inherit good stuff but also not so good stuff.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So when you understand this and clear what you have to do and what is your mission here, it's everything makes sense, and you got to that point of meaning in your life and where you are, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Now, I've often wondered and inquired, thought about the comparison between bloodline
Mhm.
and, being raised a certain way, right? Because a lot of people say I'm like my mom, a lot of my dad and me, but I'm adopted.
Mhm.
Right. So
Mhm.
there isn't a blood connection, right? So I didn't inherit like through birth physical traits or any of the kind of stuff that you may think of that goes through birth, but I did inherit a lot of ways I view the world and my mannerisms and perspectives, and because of who I was raised by, right? And I've always wondered whether astrology accounts for that, right? Like, is who your parents are because they gave birth to you, or who your parents are because they raised you? Like, in which direction does astrology
I
go?
think both sides are in ourselves, because in our DNA it is imprinted this bloodline story. Then of course the parents which we were raised, or the environment we,
Right.
let's say we don't have any parents and we lived in a home foster or something.
Right.
Also the environment has an impact in our early childhood, and has an impact on the way we also have our own stories further.
Right.
So but there are two different stuff, but both has the same impact.
Yeah.
But I think that when we understand why we choose these stories, then it's a very huge relief. because you really understand why did you choose this kind of, and it's like a very deep conditioning.
Yes.
Right.
Because we came with a lot of conditioning from our ancestors, from our environment, from society, and so on. There are a lot of conditioning.
Yeah.
So actually, we are learning how to deconditioning ourselves.
Yeah.
And free ourselves.
You know, as we were talking about this topic, one of the things I found really fascinating is your studies around multi-generational trauma and astrology, which I had actually never heard of the combination before. You know, for psychology and, therapy, we recognize that there is the transmission of trauma through generations that we can actually trace back in family tree. Like we would use something called a genogram. Shout out to my therapist folks out there. A genogram that would actually map out the family history, and you would start to see patterns that would happen in each generation. I'm curious if you could just share more about astrology and multi-generational trauma and some of the work that you've studied there.
Yes, it's because in my personal life, I have been through this with my grandparents, because I was not actually raised by my mother, because it was a different dynamic there. I was the mother and she was the child.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, from a younger age, I had responsibilities for my family. And mostly I was raised by my grandparents, which also has a great impact
Right.
on my entire life experience. I understood very much from my family, from my own family, what were the traumas. And when I talked to them, I understood that in my previous generation, divorce was present, which was very rare at that time. In Stranger from Child was there. I mean, so many stories that I have already re-experienced in my life, and I see from where the root cause of all this.
Right.
And sometimes in a generation comes a time when one child, or I don't know, because somewhere they stop, we should stop and break the cycle.
Yes.
Because when you are aware of the trauma, then you can work with it and put some healing there. Because if you choose this kind of family tree with this story, then it means you can do it.
Right.
Otherwise it wouldn't be yours.
Right.
Of course, when they are brothers, it's not like we repeat some aspects from the family tree trauma, some aspects of this. We don't have the similar, let's say, experiences. Some of them have a specific, let's say, blockages on, I don't know, children, or having children, or on relationships.
Right.
Or on material stuff, on, I don't know, financial issues or whatever. It's a lot to do. But the good part is that if you work with this trauma, it's you release also the ancestors. You release them, and you take their you focus only on their gifts, because we not inherited only trauma.
Only trauma,
We
right.
inherited the gifts, and if we are aware of these gifts, then these are the tools that we can put the trauma a stop.
Right.
Okay. All right. And one of the tools that you use is astrology.
Yes.
Wow. Very cool.
Because you can get to the point. I mean, it's like a reading, like you are reading a birth chart, but you can see the stories. You can see the story and the root cause of all this, and how you connect with your ancestors. What is the way, and where are the areas where they can support you in this life. And and when you realize that, for example, I always had good opportunities and let's say good luck or something like that in professional areas. I always had good jobs, a very good connection with people on top, let's say. I always had this stuff. And when I understood this story of my family, I understood that this support was also coming from my ancestors.
Right.
Okay.
And it was wow. I mean, and there is also a point in the chart which tells us where our destiny meets with their destiny, and what is the most important stuff that we should learn here. And with this, we close some chapters that they didn't have the chance to.
Okay.
So let me ask you this question, because I think a lot of the ways that I would think about astrology before is that like it predicts things, right?
Mhm.
Like who am I going to
Guessing.
marry, or what is my life going
we
to
have
be, right?
a crystal.
But what you're saying is not that you can tell someone their destiny, but that in reading different aspects of their chart, you can help them to find insight into the destinies that they have already chosen or the lives that they are already leading in a way that might help to clarify some of their paths, but not necessarily predict what's going to happen for
Yes.
them.
Kind of clarify their whys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. It's a very self-inquiring, because we also what I understood also from my studying its period was I didn't put the right question to myself.
Okay.
So I learned to address myself new questions, because I saw different perspective of the same area, which was very enlightening.
So, what are some of the questions that you would ask? If you want to ask the right questions of astrology, what are some of the questions you would ask?
Ask myself. Let's say when I understood that I was a very long time in a victimization mood, let's say, which I inherited from my family on a female line. I had that question in my mind always on repeating, which was like, why did this happen to me? After I learned astrology, then I asked myself, why did I choose this? And what does it learn me, actually?
Yeah.
What does it learn me? Or is the way like, now I understand that this was happening for me.
Okay. All right.
For me to understand something.
Yeah.
So, and I had to repeat it, because otherwise it wasn't clear for myself. It should have been something very obvious, something very strong, tough. But otherwise, I wouldn't see it.
Okay. So it sounds like astrology helped you move away from the why, which I don't know, for folks that I sit with, I often say why is a circle the drain question, because why is about motivation, why is about intention, and often we can't know the motivations and intentions of others, but instead an empowering place that says I can choose, I have choices, and what I need to do is understand those choices better. And once I can look and understand those choices, then I'm empowered to make different choices. Okay.
Yeah, that's the point.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Man, look, this star stuff is always trippy to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't look at you.
So when you did my reading right before my birthday, and we all sat down at Isoporia, whatever it's called, and you begin to go through my star chart, you sit, and you always sit with a skeptical mind. Well, not always, but you sit with a skeptical mind. You're like,
well, you're a Virgo, so
you're right, right. And you start going through it, and I'm like, that's me. Oh, yep, I see that. Oh, yeah. A lot of, that's me. Oh, yep, that's me. Oh,
you say it like that?
That's me.
Yep, that's me.
That's me. Now, when she did your star chart, did you experience not necessarily but the same energy behind that?
I did. I think I was more skeptical about your star chart, because that was the first time we actually sat down.
Okay, I get it.
And so that well, yeah,
well, mine was the first.
Well, yeah, yours was the first one. So we sat down. One, I was really surprised at how in depth it was.
Right.
And so, but that helped to set my expectations. I do have to say there were a couple of moments that the only thing the only word I can use that comes to me is gobsmacked. I was gobsmacked, you guys.
That's a good word.
Great word. Gobsmacked at some of the things that Cris was able to just share as insight that she saw in my chart, which was something that I had not shared with Cris. So I was less skeptical, but was still blown away. Yeah, I mean, this might be a good segue then to talking about the overlap of the charts. Cris has been really gracious, and part of what she's agreed to do today is to actually share some insights from both of our charts. We have not talked about this in advance, so this is going to be a surprise for us,
Right.
just like it will be a surprise for you. But I am really excited to see what is in store, what our charts would say, and I guess we're going to start with we've already got the birth charts. I guess, Cris, tell us how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going back to that point where we are talking about the sun sign,
Okay.
which is not the most out of it.
Right.
Of course, it is important, but it's not something that we should identify it, and that's it.
Right. It's not the begin
It's
and
not-
end all of everything.
Yes, yes. But we are like I said, complex individual, and the time when we are birthed, also the other planets were in the sky in some sign, which gives us like a mix of energies. And how I learned astrology was like each planet reflect a part of our psyche, and the sign traits also tell us how we display this function into the world. Okay.
Awesome. Kind of like astrological soup.
Yeah.
You drink from an astrological soup when you're born.
Yes,
Sounds
yes.
delicious.
So this is the mixture. This is where the planets were, where the stars were, where the constellations were. Drink your soup.
Here's your soup.
And now you're born. Go.
So there is some technical calculation to be done, and I've done for both of you. And how this let's say mix was when it was in your birth chart.
Mhm.
So in the way the planets were arranged in the sky in that moment, there is a calculation, and it's like an let's say astral imprint with this mix of energies. What this show us? It show us what is the predominant, let's say, energy which run into our entire system.
Okay.
What is the predominant one, and what is at the lower, let's say, not quantity because it's
So
not
like the minor
level. The minor,
The lower,
let's say.
So it's like a major and a minor.
Yes. It also happened that some people have very balanced in
Energies.
this. Yes,
Yeah.
but the life has a funny way to arrange all this, because when we have this minor element, we meet people. We are receiving some experience, or we are put into some situation where this minor element is balanced. So because we are not used to it, we don't know how to use it, we don't know how to deal with it. So life has this funny way
Right.
to put it on
Absolutely
the
does.
plate.
That has definitely been our experience, especially traveling around the world and just meeting so many different and wonderful people. Yeah, totally agree. So what do our charts tell us about
Yes.
go ahead and tell us a little
Okay.
bit more about our charts.
So let's start with Big.
Me.
Yeah. As we know, also in nature there are 4 elements: air, fire, water, and earth. So the most predominant element in your chart is earth. That is translated like a person who is very grounded, who is very practical, and who wants to build. Because earth is very related to material or to ground. Yeah. Okay. The minor one was water. Water is a very
Money.
yes. Water is related to the emotional part. With this, maybe you display in a very low, this emotional stuff. You are not very, emotional. You don't show yourself how you really feel. For example, there also could be problem with hydration because you don't own this element. So in order to balance it, you need to bring more water in your life.
So
Okay.
I'm a doctor. Yeah. Yes.
Maybe you feel good when you go to the seaside or
yes.
Right. Or when you date a Pisces.
exactly.
What?
Okay.
All right.
So everything related to water, or you put yourself, and I don't know, you can watch emotional movies to activate this water in you.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely a crier in movies.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's accurate.
So in this way, all the elements will be in a very, let's say, harmonic balance.
Okay.
And also there is this energy of starting something, to continue or to work, to build something, or to close. And in your chart is very balanced. This you can start, you can continue, and you can close it. So it's a
Okay.
very balanced way. So if you, let's give an example, if you take a project, you have the stamina, the let's say the initiative to start it. You have the stamina to put it on work and to bring results, and you have also the capacity to close it, to finish it, to have the wrap up of the project.
Right.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
I don't know if it's
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
but
I'm an
this is
actor.
this is the
I can audition. I can rehearse. I can perform all the way to closing night.
Mhm.
Yep. I get that.
in terms of Nila's birth chart. This is where the water is the most predominant.
Ah.
Major water. Okay.
So it's like the water, your earth.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's why you have this combination. Very, very nice.
We're mud.
We're mud. Oh. And what does it mean to have water as major?
It's this part of emotional. It's very predominant in your life. So somehow you are very in touch with your emotional, and you attract also people who display to yourself your their emotional
Yes, I think
status.
I think that is a safe thing to say. That is definitely true.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I mean, therapist, relationship coach, I deal a lot every day of my life with my emotions, other people's emotions. And I don't know, that's where I feel most comfortable. So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's the most predominant. That means you have all the abilities to deal with it, to handle it.
Mhm.
Because you understand, you are empathic, all the qualities of the water. You're fluid, you can mold yourself to whatever form. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
and the minor element is fire.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
With fire, which fire is related to this initiative, with this with courage,
Mhm.
with taking the lead.
Okay.
Taking the lead, and this could be let's say activated.
Mhm.
He's giggling over here. I don't know why he's giggling so much, but for those who can't see, ladies and gentlemen, he's giggling
I
like
got
he's
a
trying
giant smile on
so
my face.
hard not to laugh. I don't know why. Go on.
Maybe he will share with us.
No. Oh, well, of course it was a podcast. Of course I'll share. Like the concept of you taking the lead happens frequently,
Okay.
and I like it. I love
Okay.
that about you.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet.
And the fire, the initiative, you
Yes.
come up with a lot of ideas.
That's true.
You have a lot of ideas.
Yeah, ideas are more related with the air, which is very close to the water
Mhm.
element. So the water and the air are the two
Mhm.
on top.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The most is the water, then is the air, which is also related to this mental communication. So you are talking about emotion.
So can I ask, because there's this thing that I've always heard about, and I guess I only recently learned what it meant, but people will say I'm on the cusp, right? Meaning I was born in Pisces, but the sun sign that was closest to my birth, I was just before Aries. And so I might have traits of both, or is that something that's just kind of like newspaper stuff?
No, it could be, but it's like being on the last degrees of the Scorpio. It's Pisces. It is said in the astrology at the analytic degree, which is like a crisis. It's like the sun. Was at its peak,
Mm-hmm.
so he is very experienced in that sign.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He knows everything about it.
Yes.
He knows how to deal with it, but in the same time it's like, I'm a bit tired of this, because to deal with this emotional, it's not that easy.
Yes.
It could be feeling in your inside, like sometimes you are tired of this and you want to begin a new journey.
Yes.
But not yet, because you are very familiar with this vibe of Pisces.
Gobsmacked, you guys. Gobsmacked.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, you could be, but you are not experienced anyhow in the Aries life. You are much more experienced on this, and you have a lot to learn others about this, because it's like the most wisdom. First, Pisces are the most wiser sign, and being on the last degree, it's like like a mentor, like someone, like a guru, someone that has a lot of knowledge and should be spread it outside, because otherwise the crisis could be feel like a pressure,
Okay.
So you have to release it, the water, release it.
Okay. So I guess that's maybe part of this process here with Rainbow Dreamcatcher is
Yes.
How do we let that information out about emotions and relationships and the skills that you need to be healthy in relationships,
Right.
and also really to be healthy in self. So
Yes.
Yeah.
And both of you are your sun sign are in the opposite signs. One is in Virgo, one is in Pisces. It's like a dialogue where you talk with each other. And this in astrology, it says, is like the healing axis, the sacrifice axis, because they both want to heal. They both want to heal, and they both want to be in the service of others.
Okay.
And it's about the consciousness, the practical stuff, which is related to Virgo,
Right.
and this let's say oneness energy, which wants to we all are one.
Yes. Have some unity. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And the wisdom, because there is the last sign of the zodiac, he has already experienced each of the sign, and he's at the end of the road.
Yes.
It's like, he closes a cycle.
Okay. Voice to me.
He closes cycles. So he knows everything about the others. He understands very well. That's why for a Pisces, this empathy, this
Right.
it's very strong, because they knew somewhere in their DNA,
Right.
they know how to deal with each sign, because they integrated it already.
Yeah. So it's in some ways Pisces, or folks that are at that sign, at their sun sign, they have an understanding of what it means to be the other person, right?
Yes.
To put themselves in their shoes, to understand what their experience might be, even though it's not my own experience, to just have the room to allow people to express their experience.
I mean, they said that, for example, we can learn, we know the previous sign. So, for example, a Virgo, yes, knows the previous sign, and they can learn from the next sign.
Got it.
So it's like...
Who's previous to Virgo? Is it Leo?
Yes.
Leo's previous? Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So you know the Leo. No? You know the Leo very well. But...
What? No, that's not the nudes. Okay, good.
No.
It's the Libra with the nudes.
Libra's with the nudes.
You should learn from Libra.
Yeah, Libra's right after me, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you got to learn
I'm in between the Leo was, what was the most dating? No. It was
The Leo was the person that had the most sex.
most sex.
That's right.
So between the person that has the most sex
And the
person
person that
sending
sends the most nudes.
and we meet in the middle.
And you have and the
I'm
Virgo
having
has
sexy nudes.
yes, and the Virgo has the ability to discern what to do with both.
Figure it out. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're on the consensual nude side.
I'll learn which one of the nudes will
Exactly.
get me the sex. Got it.
Perfect.
Got it.
Yes.
Taking notes.
Okay, and to finish with this astral imprint for you, Nilla, it's in terms of starting things, you are less experienced,
Yes.
and you are more experienced to build and to keep it, to maintain something, and to close. You are perfect to close everything, to not have these leftovers, like.
Yes.
Let me say.
Okay, good.
But the fire and this initiative should be trained.
Okay.
Should be trained, and this can be done like expose yourselves to the sun, do anything related to movement, because you know the movement means metabolic system is burn the calories.
Oh, you mean like pole class?
Like pole class.
Exactly.
Yes. I can't wait to get back to pole class.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter. Can be walking. It's most important to ignite the fire, the inner fire.
Now, let me ask you this question, because, water and fire. And to me, intuitively, I think, well, isn't one going to extinguish the other? Like,
exactly.
How do I not put out the fire?
Well, we saw Elemental, right? Water, fire,
or am I just
together.
walking around and being steamed?
Is that what you're saying? Right, yeah. They're able to change each other's chemistry and able to come together in a harmonious fashion.
Okay, so I'm not putting out the fire. I'm just creating steam.
Yeah, which is energy.
Which is energy.
Which causes motion.
Okay, I like it. I like where this is heading.
I can talk that kind of stuff.
Okay, all right.
I'm
I
Virgo. I can see them details.
And I guess the releasing point is through air, so through communication. Okay. So just talking about emotions, you will not be overwhelmed by them.
Okay. All right, good.
Because of course, too much water, it means that you can draw.
Right.
Sometimes. So just communicate and it will balance.
Okay. All right, good. So we find a balance.
Especially through communication.
And
I have a feeling this podcast is going to inspire a lot of communication as we continue forward.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, I think even in the way that we work on this podcast, I think that we find that balance. You take care of a lot of the practical details. I take care of a lot of the initial how we're going to get
topics,
how we're going to move forward. What should we keep doing? What should we stop doing? So I think, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much.
That's awesome.
Like super amazing. It's important for our listeners, if they want to learn more about astrology, about natal birth charts, about natal birth charts. And also particularly multi-generational trauma, they're going to have a place to reach you. And if it's okay, can I go ahead and share your website? The website, if you want to learn more, is confidentmoonastrology.wordpress.com. And again, it's confidentmoonastrology.wordpress.com. You can also check out Cris on the social medias at Confident Moon, and that is on Facebook and Instagram. Definitely check it out. If you want to have your birth charts, is it written, read? Deciphered, engaged. If you would also like to be gobsmacked, please go ahead and take a look at that at that website and check it out. So I don't
can also access through us because again, she's a friend of ours, not just a guest, but also a friend.
Yes.
You can also hit us up at Rainbow Dreamcatcher TOP on gmail.com. Of course, any questions you have about Cris and what she does, we will obviously forward that along. Mm-hmm. You can also catch us on Instagram at Rainbow Dreamcatcher The Love Pod. Yeah, be sure to hit us up as well.
Yep. And if you haven't done so already, please take a moment. It's so helpful to us if you will just subscribe, if you will if you're checking this out on YouTube, leave us a comment, send us a question.
Review us on Apple,
Apple
Podcasts
Yeah.
or Spotify Podcast. Give us a review.
Mhm.
We appreciate that. That kind of stuff helps the algorithm. And then most importantly, share. Share us with people you think would be interested in talking about or hearing about love, relationships, the human connections.
Yep. If you hear something that has been helpful to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with somebody else.
Especially us.
So I don't know. Do we have a question for today?
Well, I think since we had a guest today, I think we can call it good. I think a question will lead us further into, unless you want. I have questions available if you want to dig on.
I gotta tell you, I would really like to maybe answer a very quick question. Maybe something not super in depth, but
All right.
let's ask a question.
Let me pull up the question.
You
guys chat about something while I get these questions.
Well, first of all, how do we get these questions? You can send us your questions via comment on YouTube. You can send us your questions via our Gmail account, which is Rainbow Dreamcatcher TLP. Please go ahead and send any of your questions there. And for those folks that have sent questions, thank you so much for sending those questions, sending your stories. I'm always surprised. I never know which question is going to come up. So, I don't know. I'm glad we're going to do it because this is my favorite part. I don't know what y'all are asking. So,
this question comes from an anonymous listener.
Okay.
They ask, why do we as human beings search for connections and form of relationships?
Interesting. Wow. We're going to why as human beings. Whew, that was not a quick question.
Oh, I got it. we can cycle back for that one. That feels too in depth.
No.
I thought since we're talking about star charts and connections and how we connect, that one kind of fit.
Well, no, we can actually talk about it. And what actually comes to me is, this is going to be really weird, but I remember just kind of being really, really interested in one of my previous grad school classes, right? When we were talking about something called neural mirroring. And it is this thing that we know happens between people, and we don't know why it happens between people. But when you talk with someone and you are sitting down and talking with them, after about 10 minutes, if you actually look at the brain waves of each individual, you'll start to notice that those brain waves will sync.
Oh, interesting.
And we don't know why this happens. We're not sure what it means in terms of connection. But the fact that we are transmitting things to each other in the ways that we are communicating, when we talk, when we take in other people's energy, would suggest that there is something very primal about the need to connect. We know things like having social ties, things that are weak ties and strong ties, right, are correlated with good mental health and good physical health, right? So when I say strong ties and weak ties, what I mean are a strong tie being like a intimate partnership or a friendship or a deep friendship or a long-standing business relationship, right? But where there is a constant exchange. That's what we call a strong tie. And a weak tie, which are actually equally important, you guys, are those spaces where we just know people. We don't necessarily know them, but we are seen by them and they are seen by us. So that would be, for example, the person that I see every day when I walk the dog. That would be the person that is at the grocery store and works at the grocery store that I frequent and that I see them once a week.
Maybe members of a social hangout group that all get together, but you only really talk to maybe one or two of them, but you still see the same people each time.
Yes. And so it is really important for our health that we are in this connective space. So, I don't know. I don't know if I could answer the why. Right?
I think that might come down to having to do some research and maybe dive into that. We might make that a later topic. But the what is that that connecting with human beings, connecting with other people is very highly correlated with good health and good mental health. So I don't know if I can answer your why, but the what is that it is good for us. And that's why we want to make sure that we maintain those kinds of connections wherever possible. And I'm going to assume that when they ask about relationships, they may mean, like, we all have a relationship here,
mm-hmm,
right?
Mm-hmm.
But if they mean, like, why did we connect as human beings from a relationship? Like you and I have a relationship. Like, why did we move from just acquaintance into why do we feel the need to become partners,
Mhm.
right? I wonder if like that is, I think, and I don't know, I could be way off on this, but I think there's something about the familiarity and the connecting of brainwaves. I think the more time you spend with somebody,
Mhm.
the more that happens, the more you feel connected to that person.
Mhm.
And then that feels like a natural progression. If there's, if there are things like, sexual attraction and a concept that you guys, agree on and you
Mhm.
vibe together, right? Your vibes in the same space. I
Mhm.
think that type of that mixture, you put all that in a blender and stir it up, makes a relationship smoothie.
Yeah. I do want to do this as a later topic.
Yeah.
How do you go from being friends to being more?
Oh yeah,
We need to do that topic.
We're getting to that topic.
So
later.
that question,
I'm gonna write that down so I don't forget.
Listener, thank you so much for that question. Very much appreciate it. It's gonna spark a whole bunch of other questions. I hope that was a sufficient enough answer. And if you need more clarity, hey, you're anonymous. Go ahead and send me another question. But let us know in specific what it is that you're asking about. Relationships generally, partnerships like Big was talking about, relationship smoothies, whatever that might be.
Yeah, send me the question. You can send the question to me because those anonymous, I know who it is. So send me the question when you hear this. I'll make sure that this hits your ear holes. I mean, hit your earwaves. You don't like ear holes.
I don't. I think
Hit
ear
your
holes
ears.
sounds very weird.
So,
okay.
So,
well, I think that is it for today. We want
right.
to again say thank you to our
Thank you,
guests.
Chris.
Thank you.
Really
It was a
appreciate
pleasure.
So happy to have you here.
Thank you.
And guys, thank you for listening to
Rainbow
Rainbow
Dreamcatcher,
Dreamcatcher, the Love Podcast. Bye-bye.
Bye.